start and see how far we get before the ads come. Genesis 40. After these things happened, the cupbearer to the king of Egypt and the royal baker offended their master, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was enraged with his two officials, the cupbearer and the baker. So he imprisoned them in the house of the captain of the guard in the same facility where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard appointed Joseph to be their attendant, and he served them. They spent some time in custody, both of them, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in prison, had a dream the same night. Each man's dream had its own meaning. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were looking depressed. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were with him in custody in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" They told him, "We both had dreams, but there is no one to interpret them." Joseph responded, "Don't interpretations belong to God? Tell them to me." So Joseph's cupbearer told his dream to Joseph. "In my dream, there was a vine in front of me. On the vine, there were 3 branches. As it budded, its blossoms opened and its clusters ripened into grapes. Now Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, so I took the grapes, squeezed them into the cup, and put the cup in Pharaoh's hand." "This is the meaning," Joseph said to him. "The 3 branches represent 3 days. In 3 more days, Pharaoh will reinstate you and restore you to your office. You will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand just as you did before when you were cupbearer. But remember me when it goes well with you and show me kindness. Make mention of me to Pharaoh and bring me out of this prison, for I really was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, and I have done nothing wrong here for which they should put me in a dungeon." When the chief baker saw the interpretation of the first dream was favorable, he said to Joseph, "I also appeared in my dream, and there were 3 baskets of white bread on my head. In the top basket, there were baked goods of every kind for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them from the basket that was on my head." Joseph replied, "This is the meaning. The 3 baskets represent 3 days. In 3 days, 3 more days, Pharaoh will decapitate you and impale you on a pole. Then the birds will eat your flesh from you." On the 3rd day, it was Pharaoh's birthday, so he gave a feast for all his servants. He lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the head of the chief baker in the midst of his servants. He restored the chief cupbearer to his former position, so that he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But the chief baker he impaled, just as Joseph had predicted. But the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. It already shows. Yeah, it was telling me, I thought that I still had a minute and a half before the ad break, and it was ads that were going. So we didn't miss anything. Good thing I was just like, I'll just wait, kill time, and wait for the ads, and we didn't have to. They were already here. Okay, so Joseph now is in the prison. What's going to happen to him? He's been elevated to a high position. Now we're going to get an interlude of some other kind in his life. So he has done the same thing. Now we have the cupbearer and the baker offend their master, the king of Egypt. We don't know what they did. They got thrown in prison. He can do that. It could be something willy-nilly. It could be something justified. But the cupbearer is also going to be someone who is going to be the food tester on some level, and is going to wield political power. They're going to be a confidant of the king. So we need to think of them more than just, he's not a waiter. He is more than that. So that's what we need to see here is going on. The baker, on the other hand, the baker may be an Egyptian, the head baker who had privileges in the royal court. So he's going to be making the baking for whatever reason. And bread is sustaining life. So I don't know if there's something there in the cup and the bread. Ooh, wouldn't that be interesting? Taking the cup and taking the bread, does this lead to later on when we are going to have the Passover and the cup and the bread and the meal that is taken? Or if we get to Jesus with the cup and the bread, or I mean, like this is a prominent motif. So no doubt that it would be important here, but we don't have to go down that trail very far. Okay, they are imprisoned, and then, well, they come underneath the captain of the guard, and Joseph just is the one in charge, so he gets put in charge of them. We're just getting, yeah, that's what happened. They spend some time in his custody. So here's one of the problems. We have time progressing forward here from the time he's sold into slavery, and we just read chapters after chapter. We are compressing way large units of time here in this whole section, and now we're compressing it again. So they come in to custody, and now they've spent some time there, and now they both have a dream, and Joseph knows that they are looking depressed. So we're talking about, how do we know? Like, you can see people are just downtrodden. Like, yeah, they're not as chipper as they normally are. Yeah, their face is not looking good. Like, their demeanor to be sick or to be emaciated. Like, you just look bad. You look bad. So why do you look so sad today? Why do you look this way? So Joseph, who is caring for everybody, wants to know what's going on. Why do you have a long face today? Yeah, this is in years, and we will get a hint at how many years it is when Joseph gets out. So I don't want to lead to that yet, but we will find out. They both had a dream, but no one to interpret it. Okay, again, I see Joseph here as a little arrogant, but it sounds like, here's how it sounds like he is being humble, but not. I mean, he is being braggadocious, but he's also honoring God. Like, he mixes these together. So, don't interpretations belong to God? Yeah, that sounds like he is praising God. Like, well, the only way to get it and an answer to a dream is through God. Tell it to me. Not tell it to me and I'll ask God to interpret it. He says, tell it to me. I'm an interpreter of dreams, by the way. I know. I have the right hand of God. I have the ear of God. You tell the dream, I'll know the answer. And when we read the whole piece, there's no deliberation. There's no, and Joseph went to God and asked God the meaning of it, and God revealed the meaning of the dream to him. No, it's an instantaneous, here's what the dream means. Here's what the dream means. We are getting Joseph as the interpreter, and I see Joseph as, again, braggadocious about him. Also, I see him as braggadocious of this by the way he gives the explanation to the cupbearer at the end. So let's just skip ahead to that. Let's just keep with this. This is the meaning of the three branches. Okay. But remember, so he says, you will go to Pharaoh's, put his cup in his hand as you did before, be cupbearer. Joseph could have left it there. Joseph doesn't have to ask. Now, I'm not saying he's not in the right to ask to be out. But he goes on with the ask. And I know we could go with it. You have not because you asked not. Okay? I know that. But remember me when it goes well with you, and show me kindness. Make mention of me to Pharaoh, and bring me out of prison. For I was really kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, and I have done nothing wrong here in which they should put me in a dungeon. I've done nothing wrong here. Yeah, I was to steal away. I was kidnapped. Yeah, so he was stolen away and sold here. I've done nothing wrong. He's making his plea here. Does he have to go through all of the excuse here? Does he have to, like? I'm reading it a certain way. You don't have to agree with me. You could just say this makes sense. He should ask to be relieved out of it. Why couldn't he go to the captain of the guard who was in prison, who has done this? Why can't he plead his case there? Why would the cupbearer? Because the cupbearer is someone who was going to have an audience with Pharaoh and going to give advice to Pharaoh at times. So I think he is braggadocious here. Like he could do other things. Anyway, let's get to the meaning of it. So we have the 3 branches, and 3 more days will be reinstated. And he is squeezing the juice into the cup, and you're going to give it back to the king. So we have a simple dream that is there. It's straightforward, and he gives it. Now, I love how this happens. When the chief baker saw the interpretation of the dream was favorable, then he was like, all right, tell me what I get. Tell me what I get. Here's my dream. Isn't that how we are sometimes? When one person gets favor, we expect to have favor upon ourselves and more favor. I know there's a couple more examples in scripture, and there's one that's, I can't think of it, that just comes like, oh, I know there's one that is very similar to this, where they come forward and they're like, now let me have what I deserve. And there is also the parable of the paying the workers and he hires more people, and then the ones who come work the whole day expect to get more. Like, he's expecting to get more on some level here. It was favorable for the other guy. I can't wait to hear what mine is, and it's bad. You also appeared in my dream, and there were baskets of white on your head, and the top basket, there was every kind of food for it. And well, here's the interpretation. 3 days also, 3 baskets. And you're going to get decapitated. You're going to get impaled on a pole, and the birds are going to eat your flesh. Now, I understand he doesn't ask him to remember me when it goes poorly with you. I don't want to be associated with that. But it's interesting that it's one is good and one is bad. And in fact, it happens in 3 days. That one is lifted up, and the head of the chief cupbearer is lifted up to the office he was at. And the literal head of the chief baker is lifted up on a pole, and he dies. I did want to look at the pole there. I don't remember that translation. Yeah. And impale you on a pole, then the birds will eat your flesh. Doesn't have anything in the footnotes there on that. Let me see if there's anything in 32. As he predicted, the interpretation of them, the dreams were fulfilled exactly, the very detail. That's not what I want. I wondered on the pole part. So we are in 40. You need to get up and get something to eat, but you're listening on a loudspeaker. Carry on, Bible reading streamer. Thank you. Okay, so we are in 40 and 22. 20 win. Why did it go to Exodus again? Good grief. I'm hitting the wrong thing, obviously. I must be hitting next book, not next chapter. Tala.
Strong's H, 8518. Tala.
Okay, so to hang to display. So I think one of these things is, as we have learned more about this word, we have learned that impaling was a more prominent thing. So when we have the gallows in the book of Esther that is being built, it is possibly more likely that it's impaling on a pole that is happening instead of hanging on a gallows with rope. So that's more likely. So that's probably why, because it was hang and now they've got impaled. So that's all the differences there.